Good evening, everyone. We'll call the October 7th, 2025 Town Board meeting to order. Before we begin, I just ask that you silence your cell phones, make sure they are turned off and their beeping and such things will not interrupt our flow of business. We always start our meeting with a moment of silence, and so now, if you would like to, please join us. Thank you. And now, if you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Escobar, announcements?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. We wanted to announce that we're going to have our Veterans Day Parade and Ceremony. We're asking you to join us, the town, as well as the American Legion Post 321 and the American Legion Post 321 Auxiliary for our 10th Annual Veterans Day Parade and Ceremony on Saturday, November 8th. This year's Veterans Day Parade proudly honors the 250th anniversary of America's Army, Navy, and Marine Corps. And if you're interested in participating in the parade, applications are due this Friday, October 10th. You can find them online on our website, or you can come here to Town Hall. Also, we have good news about First Responders Park. The town of Huntersville has been awarded a $500,000 Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant to support the development of First Responders Park, which was formerly named Fire Station Number 4 Park. The grant, administered by the NC Department of Natural and Cultural Resources through its Division of Parks and Recreation, requires a local match and will provide significant funding to advance one of Huntersville's priority recreation projects. The town board, as you'll remember, voted to name the new park First Responders Park during its August 5th meeting. And then for those interested in the Google Fiber installation, it's still ongoing here in Huntersville with contractors and subcontractors currently active in several neighborhoods. The company is more than halfway through its installation work in town and anticipates completing its service line deployment in 2026. The town continues to share resident concerns with Google Fiber, and the company has responded by encouraging residents to report issues directly through their support channels. So if you have issues, contact Google through their damage reports phone number at 877-454-6959 or their customer support and questions line, which is 833-942-0061, or you can also go to their Google Fiber webpage. If you need to find that, you can always go to our webpage. And then the Mecklenburg Public Transportation Authority application. The town of Huntersville is seeking applicants to serve as its appointed representative to the Mecklenburg Public Transportation Authority. If you are a Huntersville resident, meet the requirements established by the PAVE Act, and are interested in serving on behalf of the town, please review the application and apply. That is on our website. Information about MBPTA and the application are all there. And if this is important, if the transportation sales tax referendum does not pass in November, then the MPTA will not exist, and then therefore the town will not make an appointment. That's it.
We have a couple of proclamations this week. We have a proclamation for Fire Prevention Week. Whereas the town of Huntersville is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our town, and whereas fire remains a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and the presence of lithium-ion batteries in many household devices introduces unique fire risks, and whereas most of the electronics used in home daily, including smartphones, tablets, laptops, power tools, e-bikes, e-scooters, and toys, are powered by lithium-ion batteries, which, if misused, damaged, or improperly charged, can overheat, start a fire, or explode. And whereas the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, reports an increase in battery-related fires, underscoring the need for public education on the safe use of lithium-ion batteries. And whereas residents should follow 3 key calls to action: buy only listed products, charge batteries safely, and recycle them responsibly to prevent battery-related fires. And whereas lithium-ion batteries store a large amount of energy in small space, and improper use, such as overcharging, using off-brand chargers without safety certification, or exposing batteries to damage, can result in fire or explosion. And whereas the proper disposal and recycle of lithium-ion batteries can help prevent environmental hazards and reduce fire risks in the home and community. And whereas Huntersville first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of fires through prevention, safety, education, and community outreach. Whereas the 2025 Fire Prevention Week theme, Charge into Fire Safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home serves to remind us of the importance of using, charging, and recycling lithium-ion batteries safely to reduce the risk of fires in homes and communities. Now, therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim the week of October 5th through 11th Fire Prevention Week in Huntersville, North Carolina. And then we have a proclamation for National Arts and Humanities Month. Whereas the month of October has annually been recognized as National Arts and Humanities Month by thousands of arts and culture organizations, including the Arts and Science Council, the local arts agency of the town of Huntersville in Mecklenburg County, and by communities, counties, and states across the country since 1993. And whereas the arts and humanities help community members explore their diverse history and culture with the support and creativity of large, mid-size, and small cultural organizations, creative individuals, educational institutions, and local businesses. And whereas cities and states, through their local and state arts agencies and representing thousands of cultural organizations, have celebrated the value and importance of the culture in the lives of Americans and the health of thriving communities through National Arts and Humanities Month for several years. Whereas public support for the arts has been an economic generator, stimulating a healthy, vibrant, and growing nonprofit arts economy, employing 1.3 million people in full-time jobs, returning $3.4 billion in federal income taxes, $1.2 billion in state, and $790 million in local government revenue, and has an overall economic impact of $37 billion. And whereas the arts and humanities embody so much of the accumulated wisdom, intellect, and imagination of humankind and play a unique role in the lives of our families and communities. Now, therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim the month of October as National Arts and Humanities Month in Huntersville, North Carolina. And lastly, we have a proclamation for Public Power Week. Whereas we, the citizens of Huntersville, place a high value on local choice over community services and therefore have chosen to operate a community-owned, not-for-profit electric utility, and as customers and owners of our electric utility have a direct say in utility operations and policies, and whereas Huntersville Electric Fund provides our homes, businesses, schools, and social service and local government agencies with reliable, efficient, and safe electricity, employing sound business practices designed to ensure the best possible service for not-for-profit rates. And whereas Huntersville Electric Fund is a valuable community asset that contributes to the well-being of local citizens through energy efficiency, customer service, environmental protection, economic development, and safety awareness. And whereas Huntersville Electric Fund is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operations provide many consumer protections and continues to make our community a better place to live and work and contributes to protecting the global environment. Now, therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim October 5th through 11th as Public Power Week in Huntersville, North Carolina. And we'll have Kevin join us to say a few words and receive the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're very welcome.
So Public Power Week, thank you for recognizing Public Power Week this year. As the acting electric systems manager, we're very grateful to be able to serve the town of Huntersville with affordable and reliable power. So let's take Public Power Week to celebrate not only our line workers and electric department, but those 3 pillars of all public power communities, which are reliability, affordability, and local control. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now we have the Greenway Trail and Bikeway Commission update.
Hi, I'm Jeff Locke. I'm the chair of the Greenway Committee. I believe we have a presentation here. So we've talked a little before about what our priorities are as a Greenway Committee. Our number one priority for our, is our downtown connection right outside the doors here. I'm going to go over this one in a little more depth in a minute, but I just want to give an overview of the other ones. We've also kind of prioritized our east-west connections. So we're trying to get some action on the west side of town, connecting up by Stevens Grove, and on the east side of town out to Skybrook. Building those two pieces will give us a really nice long Greenway continuous section all the way across town. We've also added 2 new priorities this year. Number 4 up there is there's a Greenway actually going in right now in North Bank Park. It's not connected to anything at the moment. We would like it to connect to something, anything. NCDOT is going to be improving that section of road near there, including a multi-use path, and we would like it to connect to that if at all possible. There are some problems with that, and we're going to be in talks, hopefully, with the board a little more on that. There's some property owners that need to give us part of their property. So it could be a little difficult, but we would like to make that happen as much as possible. And number 5, which we've also added this year, we really want to tie into the broader community. We want to connect to Charlotte, we want to connect to Cornelius, we want to connect to Davidson. Part of that is pursuing what's called the SEAM, formerly the Charlotte to Mooresville Trail. I think it's going up to Statesville now. It's kind of the pie in the sky goal for building a cross-county connection here in Mecklenburg County and north of here as well. Charlotte's built most of their part, so we would really like to tie to that if we can. We're also going to give you a little bit of an update on our 30 by 30 plan. We have a bike route plan that's going through. It is funded and in process and in design right now. Huntersville has no signed bike routes at the moment. We're trying to change that. We've got a pilot program going in. It's going to be 18 miles across town, kind of supplementing, adding into our Greenway network, giving people a little more options and making it a little more obvious how to get around town on a bicycle. We also want to do more town board presentations, which is what I'm doing now. And we wanted some maps for the community, and thankfully Mecklenburg County kind of took the lead on that one. And if you came up to our Biketoberfest, we had a couple of those to hang out. They're really nice booklets showing maps of all the greenways in the county, including our own, which is really nice. So this is the map of our greenway network as we're talking about right now. You can see we flagged our number 1 priority right here downtown. 2 out there is out by Stevens Grove. We're probably talking natural surface trails for that. But you can see how like 1, 2, 3 ties in across a nice sort of east-west network. We're trying to get that as continuous as possible so that people can ride and walk and do whatever for as long as possible and as easily as possible from any place near that network. Number 4 up there is the connection we'd like to make from North Mac Park to 21. And 5 we've just kind of got on both ends of town here. The seam is going to go somewhere in that alignment. We're not 100% sure where, but we want to try to get that on paper before too much more property gets built up and takes that opportunity away from us. This is our number 1 priority here. This is the only one I'm going to talk about in detail tonight. You can see basically we're down by that bottom star. There's a new greenway that's going in up by the top star. We need to get from that point to that point somehow. I'm told that there's an NCDOT study about the intersection right outside our door here. I believe they're considering something like a roundabout. Don't have any plans on that for sure at the moment. But we kind of need the town to do everything that they possibly can to try to get the rest of that on paper, in action, in planning, in something, get it going. We have a bunch of new communities going in right between Maxwell and Church Street. We've got a new one going in just north of where that greenway alignment is. That's going to be a lot of people that we need to connect to these networks, and they're so close, but we're kind of so far away. Like, we need it to connect as smoothly as possible. So whatever the town board can do to help push that forwards, get it going, get the ball at least rolling, so that when NCDOT comes in and fills in that last little bit, we're connected. This is our 30 by 30 plan. I forget how long ago they instituted this, but our goal is to connect 30,000 residents by 2030. This is kind of a general map of everybody that's within, was it half a mile, quarter mile? Quarter mile of a greenway. That's not necessarily 100% accurate. It's kind of a ballpark. Actually getting to the greenway is a difficulty for a lot of people. And that's another thing that we're trying to work on, is improving things like sidewalk connections. And we need the town to do as much as possible on that, so that people don't have to drive to get to the greenway. Here's the details on the numbers. In 2020, we were almost there. And in 2025, we should be there and then some. Just building these sections of greenways that connect together has done quite a lot. This is there's results of some of our surveys that we've done. We were aiming for 0.15 miles of trail per 1,000 residents by 2030. We would need 33 new miles of trails to make that happen. That's kind of a lofty goal, but we've got a lot in process, and we're trying to get what we can. Greenways are the #1 top requested amenity in every survey that we've ever done as a town. Everybody wants these things. People want to go for walks with their dogs. People want to ride their bikes. People want a place that their kids can go. People want an easy way for their kids to get to school. This is how we're doing it. Greenways are one of the biggest reasons that people come here to Huntersville. So this is pretty important. Common theme, and I see this from a lot of people, they have to drive to get to the greenway. They will load their bikes on the back of cars. They will, jump in a car to go for a run, which that doesn't really make sense to me. But it's something that we would like to solve as much as possible. And the more people we connect, the easier it's going to be for everybody to get to a greenway without hopping in a car. God knows we have enough traffic here. Our 2020 Huntersville bike plan, the #1 reason that prevents residents from biking, lack of bike infrastructure. Greenways are kind of the best bike infrastructure. Bike lanes are, frankly, a little bit dangerous. We're aiming for what we call AAA infrastructure, all ages and abilities. So we want something that, your 7-year-old is going to be comfortable riding to school on. We want something your grandmother is going to be comfortable riding with him to school. We want something you can walk your dog on without being afraid that you're going to get run over by a car. We had a couple of events this year. We did Wine on the Vine, and we did what we call Biketober Block Party. This year we did it actually just a couple of days ago at Neoteric. It's a great chance for us to hear some feedback from the residents, get some input on like, hey, maybe we can add a little connection here. Like sometimes there's just some local knowledge of like, just make these two things connect, and makes things work. And learn about places that they'd like to get without a car. What the residents get on the event, they get information from us. Like we've got our maps out there. We had the map that we just showed. We've got the booklets that we handed out with all the maps of all the county. See some local businesses. Trek was out there. Tar Heel Trailblazers were out there. Some local realty was out there. The police were out there giving out helmets to kids, which was cool. And I guess that's all I got. Thank you. There any questions or?
Yeah, there's two sections that the town funded the engineering on years ago, or in the process of. That section that's kind of from Torrance that goes roughly to Beatty's Ford, and then the section here near Vermillion that goes to Asbury Chapel. Any updates on those?
I'm told that those are the next in construction. They're going to happen at some point soon, but unfortunately, the process is way slower than it needs to be. Yeah, the ball is rolling on those. They're official.
Okay, thank you.
There hasn't been any effort in that. We've tried to, I'm a cyclist in town. I actually work for Trek 1 day a week. We've tried to kind of foster a community of like being respectful on the greenways, like not going fast, giving people lots of room, giving them warnings. It may be a good idea that we put up some more signs like, hey, give auditory warnings. I think there's a couple like that already. But I don't think that there's any separation. Unofficially, I'm told there's some talks among the towns in this area about some kind of regulation of like speed or e-bikes or something. But there's nothing official on that yet.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Mayor Clark.
Sorry.
I just want to add on to Commissioner Walsh's question, and Jeff or David, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. The holdup in those two sections is it in the right-of-way acquisition phase right now?
On which two sections?
So the one going out to Asbury Chapel Road and the orange.
David might know better than me here.
'Cause
I was told we're doing most of that, and there's like a little tiny bit right before Asbury Chapel that's a problem.
So yes, for the south prong of the Clark Creek, there are two right-of-way issues that they're dealing with, dedication of land, et cetera. And then the one that goes out toward Beatty's Ford really just has one gap. But full engineering is still moving forward. So they will be ready when they can jump.
Okay, great. Does that help, Commissioner Walsh?
Cool.
All right. Thank you. All right, we have two public comments for this section. Ed McCormick, you have 3 minutes. Or do you have, oh, it is definitely 6. I couldn't tell from your notes, I'm not gonna lie. You have 6 minutes.
Okay, I don't think I'll need all 6. I'm back again. Tonight, the board has an opportunity to make a vote on traffic calming devices for Maple Branch Drive in Northbrook. And I just wanted to show up one more time and express my support for that. And I know I'm speaking for most of the neighbors. I can't say all of them because I haven't spoken to all of them. Would like to see that happen. And of course, as I shared the last time I was here, we'd like to see even more, but one is better than none. And if you approve it tonight, Laura has told me that the work will start fairly quickly. So we're very excited about that. So that was one comment. My other objective was to leave you again with a thought on another initiative that I'd really hope the town would give some thought to, and it concerns roads. And as we add developments, and more are coming, we're adding roads to the town of Huntersville that Huntersville takes responsibility for. That means maintenance, security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when I think about all these roads that we're adding, I think about future maintenance. It's like many universities today, they're building all kinds of buildings, but no one's thinking about who's going to pay for the roofs in 20 years on all these buildings. All these roads are going to need to be resurfaced, maintained, cracked curbs fixed, sewers, et cetera. And I think about what weighs 80,000 pounds, is anywhere from 70 to 85 feet long and 8.5 feet wide. It's a commercial truck. And there's lots of commercial trucks, and there needs to be to keep our economy rolling. But these commercial trucks are also in our residential neighborhoods and developments. And I have a commercial license. I drive a truck. I don't drive an 18-wheeler. There are softwares that will prevent trucks from going in to those developments if the roads are properly designated. But if you're on Waze and you're coming from out of town and you're an over-the-road driver and it says turn left here, you'll get there quicker, they turn left there to get there quicker, and then they find themselves in a residential neighborhood with roundabouts, kids, trees, all kinds of stuff, and very difficult for them to get through there without rolling over lawns and street signs. Just in the last 5 days, I've filmed 2 trucks coming through Northbrook, a full lumber truck going to 84 Lumber and an Anderson window truck going to 84 Lumber. Stopped over today to talk to 84 Lumber, and they're going to try and help divert drivers that they know from using the neighborhood, but they freely admit that commercial drivers, they have no control over. They don't even know when they're coming. So I think the town should think about or consider statutory approaches to either commercial traffic, preventing commercial traffic through residential roads, or weight limits on roads, or some other mitigation effort to try and keep these incredibly large vehicles out. And I have asked Laura to look at whether or not we can pave a couple of the corners in Northbrook that are basically becoming part of the road, because you just can't get an 80-foot tractor trailer around a corner in a tiny little development like Oak Farm or Northbrook. So as we add these roads and these residential developments, we've built in connectivity, which is a priority for the town, which is great, but that connectivity in the GPS world means anybody can use it, and everybody is using it. And, you know, cut through is one thing, but the big commercial traffic is something that I really think would be doing the town a favor on future maintenance costs if we can keep that kind of stuff out of these neighborhoods, so the roads will last much longer. They'll be a little bit safer. It'll be a heck of a lot easier to keep the corners from turning into mud holes. So I'd leave you with that thought. I would ask for some help with that, at least for our neighborhood, and I think some of the other newer neighborhoods are going to start discovering this pretty quick, because they're all connected now. So with that, I thank you for your time and effort, and please vote for my speed bump.
Thank you, Ed. Next, we have Janet Webb. Ms. Webb, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and audience. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and I'm going to be speaking about the proposed R25-07 hotel that is supposed to be, or is proposed to be built near Greenfield Park, where I reside. And I don't know if you know that area, if you've ever been out there. I know some of our commissioners have been out there and met with us, and we appreciate that. You get a better look at things if you actually see what we're talking about, because there's a big dip on Hillcrest and it just messes up everything. But anyway, I want to urge you commissioners to review this, because this has a lot of great information in it. Reasons why we should not be adding that hotel. Number one, it's too close to the residence property, only 100.4 feet away rather than the 250 feet. It's proposed to be 5 stories, which is 64 feet high, versus what should be allowed 36 feet. And they have not provided architectural elevations for the hotel, so we can't really see exactly what that looks like. And if completed, that hotel will overshadow and expose our neighborhood homes and families. And there's no way that the new buffer that they propose will replace the existing old, really tall trees. And it just opens up our neighborhood to be exposed. So just place yourself at my friend Carol Paver's house, 502 Hillcrest, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like we'll be staring at her house. So you know who the experts in this, the town planning department, your town staff, they've done a great job, and they are the experts. And I just ask that on ordinances, and so please read that again, please study it again, please talk to us. Commissioners, how can you ignore the experts and approve this request at the October 21st meeting? You still have time to visit the site and see it from the residents' homes. You may think our residents don't care because they are not present. 2 of us are here tonight. can't control that. We invite. Many people believe that unfortunately our actions or words have little effect. The commissioners are likely to act as they choose regardless. You have the power. We don't. We don't have an advocate. So I just ask you to really seriously consider not approving that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Webb. And before we proceed, I just want to let the community know that I received a resignation letter from Commissioner Amanda Dumas due to circumstances beyond her control. In a family matter, she has had to relocate outside of the jurisdiction and so has tenured her resignation. And so we just want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Commissioner Dumas and wish her well on her next chapter. And now we may have a motion for agenda changes and adoption of agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to add item 10F. Consider adding the position of Deputy Town Clerk to the town's classification plan by reclassifying the existing Executive Assistant position in the Administrative Department to a Deputy Town Clerk position. Item 10G, consider accepting the resignation of Commissioner Dumas due to ineligibility to continue serving.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Ms. Sloop, will you share with us what changes her resignation will do to our quorum count?
Sure, but do we have a motion to adopt the agenda prior to that?
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
And is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Ms. Sloop?
So for purposes of calculating a quorum, vacancies are not included. So it would still, though, in this case, be 4 for a quorum, because even with the mayor, it's typically 7. So if you take that away, it's 6. So 4 of 6 is the majority calculation for quorum purposes. As far as voting purposes, though, that calculation would change. The mayor is not included in that calculation, so it would be 3 out of 5 for the majority.
Thank you. Okay, and now can I have a motion for the adoption of the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. We're on to item 9A, conduct a public hearing for Pottstown Community Preservation Plan. Mr. Pete.
Entering the draft of the plan into the record for this evening. And like to welcome the residents of the Pottstown community who are here this evening and have been very diligent in participation in what we're doing here. So I'm going to set the stage very quickly, and then we have 2 representatives from our consultants who will speak to certain sections of the proposal, and then we'll kind of wrap up and answer questions that you may have. If you recall, in 2024, the board asked that we undertake a small area plan for the Pottstown community. Now, as you know, the 2040 community plan is a very broad, wide-ranging plan that covers the entire town and our jurisdiction. And it is our course of action throughout the time that we do a smaller part of the town, and we will focus in, be it in the Beatties Ford area, Eastfield Road, et cetera, downtown most recently. And so this was, in the natural order of things, an area that had not had that attention, and so the board asked that that be the case. And so we went through our normal process of requesting qualifications for consultants. Town staff reviewed candidates and narrowed that down to 2 that we felt were the most qualified and would do the best. And so as an additional opportunity, we asked the final 2 applicants to speak to and present to the residents themselves, a representation of some of the standing groups that have been in the community, and see what they thought and what their input was. And so after all of that and through the town's processes, we selected Neighboring Concepts to be the guiding force on this project. So with that, and they will introduce themselves in just a second, but I want to just give quick orientation to what we're talking about and the purpose of the plan itself. So very quickly, the Pottstown community is located southeast of downtown where we are right now. It is bordered by Old Statesville Road, or NC 115, and the railroad on the west. It is generally bordered by Delwood on the north. It is bordered by what would be Verhoff or the industrial park that is to the south, but generally Holbrooks Road is sort of the southern boundary, if you will, but there are a large number of properties south of Holbrook that are included. And then this community goes as far out to some of the latter stages or phases, of Vermilion, stopping short of the Greenway Waste Recycling Facility. So you can see in this map that the light yellow, that is the full study area boundary, and then the jagged yellow line that is moving through there, that represents the town boundary. So the properties that would be generally on the west side of that line are within the town limits, and the ones that are on the east side or the right would be out. And that's a little clearer here. You can see that the properties in green are the ones that would be outside of the town boundaries. And that is important, and we will touch on that later on in the presentation about what that really signifies. Just a couple of other things to point out as you're orienting yourself to the Pottstown community. A couple of the landmark items that you will be familiar with. There are 3 churches in the community. They are spread out along Delwood, Church Street, and to the south of the Waymer Center. Then you have the Waymer Center itself, both the rec center as well as the park. Then there is the old high school, and just recently, what you would know as the Delwood Center is now the Torrance Lytle Community Center that had some revitalization that was undertaken. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first consultant representative. And this here is just a quick purpose of the plan. And this purpose was tailored with the input from the residents and everyone who was a stakeholder who we interacted with during this process. So,
Hello, everyone. My name is Sheldon Merrill. I work at Neighboring Concepts. I am an architectural designer and a community engagement. And I've been one of the people that have worked with the community and helped develop the plan. So just a overview about our process. This is the timeline. We broke it up into these are kind of the phases of our process. Listening, community engagement and collaboration, a visioning plan, narrowing the plan, and then we're also the roadmap to implementation, which is what we're sharing today, the draft of it, and we're here at the hearing. And through this, it's been about a year. We've been with you guys for a long time throughout the year doing multiple community engagement efforts. We've done about 10 engagements, whether that's door to door, going to the Waymer Center and doing presentations and charrettes or workshops there. And we've also engaged about 48 different residents within that community. And we have done different iterations and spoke with the community and worked with a lot of the organizations there as well. So here's just a brief take on who we have been involved with throughout this process. So we've had some, again, the Pottstown community stakeholders, residents, and nonprofits, and some of the churches. We've also engaged with community coaches, so other people that are kind of community activists and experts within Mecklenburg. So we've engaged with them as a resource for Pottstown. Our staff at Neighboring Concepts, from our urban designers, our community engagements. We've done town partners with the Historic Landmarks Commission, and then we also have done the town of Huntersville as well, as just different entities or stakeholders that we've been involved with. The first, kind of the foundation of what this preservation plan is we asked the community, what does Pottstown mean to you and what does preservation mean to you? And then we kind of looked at all of the responses. People did like sticky notes, and we've collected and created themes out of them. And some that spoke true are the community assets, so like the different centers and the schools, the neighborhood character, so like the homes and the history that those homes and legacy hold, their connectivity with their different residents, their families, and the relationship. They wanted an element of like protection and justice to also be a standing ground, and then also to recognize the culture, the African-American culture and identity of that community there. And Eric will kind of talk to how these goals then shaped a broader and serve as the foundation for the preservation plan.
Thanks, Sheldon. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and community members. I am Eric Orozco. I'm an urban designer, the Associate Urban Planner for Neighboring Concepts. So we had 9 months of engagement, learning and just talking to the community. Our goals were shaped with all those discussions. So we were on the street, going door to door, and learning a lot about the needs. Now, I'll say that this plan is very special for a small area plan. It's not that we didn't avoid drawing things, like planners like to do. We did quite a lot of that. But the focus of this plan is preservation. And so those are the goals we crafted with, I myself and Brenda Brabrant, who's also with us, and Sheldon helped draft this plan. Now, to address the goals, we have 4 toolkits, and those toolkits contain strategies, so we call them tools. And just to go quickly over the framework of the plan, the goals are obviously to strengthen community assets, and that also includes the homes and the churches, to preserve neighborhood character, and that also includes the culture and activities of the community, to celebrate African American heritage, to advance human dignity and justice, to foster community and belonging. And so you can see here we have 4 toolkits to address all 5 of the goals. So we need all 4 toolkits to actually advance the goals. Every strategy that was discussed and brought up, we analyzed, see what they represented in terms of the level of effort to get those tools started. So we had a process to identify what was the low-hanging fruit, and those are the tools that we recommend that the community and the town can collaborate to advance right away. So the first toolkit is process and representation, and that is looking at ways that can actually strengthen the voice of the community. And so we propose some very effective and unique methods to do that. And this is one of my favorite sections that I think that we created with the community. So an example of that, for example, is creating informal community-led discussions with developers. You can see here, this is a spread from the plan itself. You can see that we also took a look at other communities that were doing this very effectively. So that every tool is informed by just the lessons learned from other communities, as well as specific guidance on how to get the plan that tool established. Regulatory tools, that's toolkit B. So we have 3 areas here that we propose to adjust, to take a look at for the town to explore in adjusting the current regulatory framework to encourage, protection of community assets, as well as enabling the community to, increase its staying power. An example of that is an overlay district, and also even taking a look at the development policies and standards that could be adjusted to help strengthen, like for example, the wonderful tree cover that the community has. So how do we protect that? And quickly, there's also a toolkit for community-led initiatives that we discussed all through the process. So these were things that we're proposing. Most of them, a lot of them are actually already being addressed by the community organizations, but some are just proposed to explore more. And we definitely need to still kind of vet whether there's merit in a lot of these tools for Pottstown. But that is a process that will be undertaken, and hopefully the community can actually flesh this out a little bit more. But we do propose them as ways that actually are addressing how communities in our county are actually, helping increase the staying power of communities that are facing development pressures. An example of tools like that would be, for example, a grassroots-led nonprofit housing development, as well as just maybe thinking about partnering with quarterback organizations or even creating your own quarterback organization that addresses the financial services and the wraparound services that are available in our region to help community members stay in their homes longer and so forth. The final toolkit is 7 distinct focus areas for investment with public and nonprofit resources. And an example of that, of course, is in the town's purview, which is to fund infrastructure upgrades. And so I'll turn it over to David to say a word more about that.
So just as a final comment about this particular element to wrap up the toolkit discussion. So these are what you would probably call your concrete products that could be undertaken by whoever would be appropriate. But we'll just use examples in this instance of what the town has been involved in. And you've got a couple of different categories here. The first would be what is happening right now. You know that the board just the staff analyzed traffic calming on Delwood. And the research of that was brought to the board, and they approved a schemes to put some traffic calming into place and monitor its effectiveness. So that is something that's already in the works and already somewhat transpired. We are also looking at the downtown stormwater study and the findings of that, and the Pottstown community is included in that study. So there will be a variety of assessment, what do we currently face and what would be recommended to help things along and serve all of those properties in the study area better. So that is, again, examples of things that are currently happening. And then the plan identifies projects that we've already identified as wanting to do, but they need to begin. And so, or they need to sort of be placed on a priority list. And examples of that would be, we're looking at Central Avenue for some traffic calming. I think there's been discussion too about maybe Holbrooks, although the challenge there is not much of Holbrooks is within the town limits. But the studies still you have to analyze it. You have to understand where the issues are. Does it meet the warrant tests that the town has established? And so, again, that is something that's right there at the end of our grasp that we are working toward. So I'll call that not done, but in the works. And then the last category in this particular toolkit would be the items that you could dream of or analyze as further down the road. Creating side paths along Holbrook Road to connect the Waymer Park to the Aero Park at the end of it on the east. Just examples like that. So again, this is sort of the tangible elements. They are speaking to CIP projects. They are speaking to priority. They are speaking to the priorities of the board. And then ultimately they will filter in because they tend to be on the larger ticket, if you will. And so the CIP priority list would be very important to sort of further those as well. So there's just an example here in the bottom right you can see, and that is sort of a joint effort between the town and the county to improve the Waymer Park. And some of that is well underway. I think you may be familiar. There's a walking track around one of the original ball fields. There'll be a splash pad out there. There'll be, I believe, some pickleball courts just for Commissioner Walsh. So again, these are bringing together of the resources that are needed to make the projects happen. The town might not be able to do it alone. The county might not be able to do it alone. An Ada Jenkins type of agency might not do it alone. But collectively, we can further the goals of the plan and get them where we'd like to. So just wanted to elaborate on Toolkit D just a little bit there. So I think that sums up the formal part of the presentation, and the three of us are happy to answer any questions the board has.
Good evening. How are you all? I'm well, thank you. So I have a couple of questions. First of all, I want to say thank you for your work and your dedication and coming into the community and, really working with the residents and trying to cultivate a small area plan. But my question is, you said that you've been engaging the community for 9 months. In looking at the area plan, there's an implementation of up to 10 years. Do you feel as if 9 months is enough time to, I guess, cultivate this implementation plan?
I would say that you still need a lot of more discussion and a lot more, I think the organizations have a lot of energy. I would say that. But they need to talk to each other a little bit more. Just to get on the, the town mobilized, they really need to create that sense of unity that they're all on board on this. And I think all of these strategies require both a town commitment, but also a community commitment. And I'd say that the community-based organizations in Pottstown, they are doing incredible work. They're already doing a lot of this already. That takes a lot of heavy lifting. But yeah, I think they do need some expert coaching. And we did, help them to, get in conversation with some of the other communities that are doing this work. But they do need a little bit more capacity building, I think. In the respect of, we know that this requires a lot of resources from the community side, and they just need to be able to organize for those resources.
I also see in the area plan where there was a coalition that was suggested. And knowing that there are different nonprofit organizations, but there's also an actual group that is comprised of all of the leaders, or majority of the leaders within the community. Would you say that could be the coalition, or that is up to the community to determine creating a new coalition?
Well, it's definitely up to them that they need to create that coalition body. Just because there's a lot of meetings, a lot of projects that are happening, it'd be nice to just create work groups so that some can focus on this project and others can focus on this, but yet still coordinate with one another so that nobody's left out. So I think it is an important a step that's really needed. But the other factor is that there are other communities like Smithville and West Davidson that could also be part of that coalition because they can then leverage regional partnerships. So I think you need a coalition body that is able to also work with these other communities that are facing a lot of the same stressors and risk.
Mr. Rivers, if I could just, and again, elaborate on that, I wanted to get very specific to your question. I think what you were asking was, can the existing groups as a whole or just representatives of them form this coalition? Absolutely. Could the community decide that they would rather maybe start from scratch and just see who they could get to volunteer and create the coalition that way? Absolutely. There really is no wrong answer to that. The only emphasis the plan makes sure that is kind of heard loud and clear is to try to touch base with 5 different representative groups would be, you're just compounding the complexities of the processes. So to have one unified voice, or even if those groups met independently as they have been, but then they sort of come to consensus as a group and present that to the town or to the county or whoever the agency is they're working with, That's just very critical because it's a hard lift as it is, and we want to make sure that we don't have artificial roadblocks.
And while you're there, David. Thank you. Can you please kind of just give, I guess, your processes in how you all, the town, create a small area plan? If you don't mind just kind of giving some.
Just generically?
Just generically, not
So-
specifically this one, but just generically. Yeah.
Sure, and I sort of touched on it at the very beginning is, our guiding document required in state law is our comprehensive plan. And so it sets the stage for what all the little pockets of the town are desired to be, and it's based on the input that you get from the larger community. And the board adopts that, and you have to do that every 10 years. But a plan of that scope and that size, it's very difficult to really get down into the specifics for any one corner of the town. So the way that most communities will approach it is you will do a subzone, basically drill down and look just specifically at this particular area. And that way you don't have to, be concerned with, well, the topography on this part of town is not like over on there. You can really pay attention to the unique characteristics of a particular area. And then you can offer up a land use pattern that you would desire, or a greenway network, or roads that will be beneficial to that particular area. And so we have done that over the last 25 years. We have a series of them. I'm sure you're aware. They're available on our website to reference. And so this is just another in that puzzle piece to shine more light on a smaller area and try to reflect what those residents are looking for. Because what they would like to see elevated is not necessarily what Eastfield would like, or Skybrook, or what have you. So that's the way that that goes. Now, the last thing I'll say on it is, any of those small area plans that we reference, they're not necessarily solving the issue, they're identifying the issue. And so I think I used the example earlier of, let's say that the small area plan said, connect Pottstown community to downtown via a greenway. Okay, that's all you have to say. It doesn't tell you where it's gonna go, how it's gonna be paid for, or what it's gonna look like. It's just, broaching the subject. And then if that becomes a high priority for the board, then it becomes a town project, or whoever the appropriate party is, and you pursue it. So that's sort of the way that the structure is, because if you're trying to list 35, 40 goals and then get the complete resolution to each one of them, well, I think you could appreciate that would take a much longer time period. And your priorities are going to be debated, as they should be, and the residents will have their preferences as well. So you want to have the vision out there all the time. And of course, it's never a stagnant document. You want to update it periodically as well. So if the county were to swoop in and build something that was not anticipated, but great, well, then maybe that adjusts some of the goals and objectives of the plan. So that's the way that our small area plans are structured.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pete, don't run off. What, you started, I think you started to touch on it. What are the challenges, if any, of part of Pottstown actually being outside of Huntersville? So I saw the map that showed about maybe land-wise half of it. It could be a third of it. What, is there any challenges related to that, or?
Yes, very good question. And as we have tried to make clear as we've gone through this, related only to the town of Huntersville, there are going to be limitations on how tax dollars can be implemented for properties that are in town and properties that are out of town. So as it relates to Mecklenburg County or some nonprofit agencies or any of the affiliated groups that we would work with, they may not be under that same restriction and probably aren't. But if we wanted to build a sidewalk from the railroad tracks along Holbrook out to the Aero Park, it would only be able to go within the town boundaries with our tax structure. So, that's something for the board to keep in mind. Now, one of the things that would help sort of clarify a little bit of this is we can, do a complete analysis of all the properties in Pottstown and show the residents what their current tax obligation is now and what it would be if they were in, assuming that they're out. So that comparison can be done very relatively easily because it's not a tremendously large area. But again, if that's the priority or that's where the board would like to go, we can do that. And then the citizens, of course, we can decide for themselves whether they like to come in or not. But I will say that just because the town can't directly spend its normal pot of money on the infrastructure or any of the projects, doesn't mean that we can't pursue grants or apply for things kind of on the behalf of that, or even reach out to a DOT and sort of talk to them a little more than you typically would to try to get their favor in terms of some of that stuff. So, but good question and an important question. There is a distinction between being inside town and out of town for what the town can specifically do.
Thank you.
This might be a question for staff too, but in Toolkit B, it talks about a zoning ordinance overlay. And so I'm wondering if you could contextualize that and maybe talk a little bit about how we could implement something like that with members of the Pottstown community.
So, yes, so here we have, we want to first gauge whether, what kind of overlay it is. So a lot of communities have conservation neighborhood overlays, that sort of thing. It could be a historic district, so that's something for the town to even imagine. That would obviously involve a lot of analysis for the designation process and that kind of thing. So it could be something like that. But I think the first step is just to explore what are the real needs, what are the immediate needs to preserve Pottstown. So that's a discussion that first has to happen with the community. And then I think the town staff and the planning board can then suggest an approach to study what kind of overlay this is, what is really required. So I do think that that's something that can happen very quickly. So we put it in within the 2-year time frame from today. That can happen. And I think, it's 6 months, probably 4 to 6 months to study propose a study. But, that's probably, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And then I remember in one of the meetings that you had, there was a forum, and there were some folks there who were talking about community land trusts and things like that. And so I'm wondering if you could explain that, how a role or how a group like that could play a role in the community and maybe even help other underserved communities in town.
Oh, definitely. So I had the privilege of actually starting the Westside Community Land Trust with a group of neighbors. It was just like 10 of us meeting in a home in Enderley Park. Basically, a community that was being gentrified. And we would just put our heads together and say, what can we do? And lo and behold, it only took about 3 years before we had an executive director. We did have to do a lot of fundraising, that kind of thing. But it is a really good tool because it's a tool that actually puts the stewardship of land in the hands of the community. That's really what a community land trust does. And it does a long-term stewardship for a community to preserve its its community members in their homes. It is also a tool for home ownership. So it's a very, the resale formula actually returns equity to the homeowner when the homeowner decides to sell their home. So there's a lot to do to get it started, but there are excellent organizations that can actually coach communities to do this. And I don't think, what I witness is I think the community actually has a lot of organizational capacity within its organizations, and I think one of these organizations should probably take that on. It will need a study of what land can actually be acquired, and it'd be nice to have maybe talks with, among community members to decide, hey, this is a vacant lot, maybe we can look at that as our first acquisition. Because that, really, a community land trust is about land, and that's the bottom line. But I think this community has the energy to actually get their own. But the town of Huntersville also has other communities that could also utilize that. So maybe it is more of a town-wide opportunity to look at that as a tool.
Yeah, thank you. David, could you maybe jump in and explain the town's role and how we could help participate in that?
For the overlay?
No.
Or, sorry, for
the land trust, yeah.
Yes. Well, you know, as Eric said, there are communities that are sort of really undertaking those initiatives. We have not done anything like that. There is a little bit of exploration, I think, that's happening regarding some affordable housing initiatives. But again, there are agencies and affiliated entities that we work with that are well ahead of us on that. If you notice, the plan has that as a it has the highest time value, because you know you really have to get the support rallied up, and then you have to figure out how to frame that, work through all the complexities to it, and then ultimately at the end of the day, if you're fully ready to roll, then you have to find the appropriate piece of land and figure out how all of that is going to work. So I am not going to pretend to understand the inner workings of one of those, but that is part of that initiative that, if it's an identified project, that we would all become experts, whether we want to or not, to be able to speak intelligently about how it would work, how it's structured, who takes the lead, and all of that. So I think it's fair to say in this plan, that is one of the larger lifts.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things we definitely want to do is protect the community from displacement and gentrification. And in Toolkit C, I saw in C1, property tax relief programs. Is that a model you're taking from the Mecklenburg County Homes Program?
Right. Yes, sir. We just basically said that the Homes Program is the tax relief program that the community can take advantage. But we are aware that Davidson also contributes directly to that program. So Davidson also has a match that they add to that. So that's potentially something that the town could also consider.
Thank you.
And thank you for your work on this. It sounds like you've already said that, finding out some of the priorities and immediate needs is part of a next step with a coalition forming. But is there anything that you feel like you identified throughout this process so far that really stands out as a priority with most of the community?
I mean, while Eric's thinking about that, I'll just offer up a couple of things that were already sort of floating around. There's been a lot of interest in putting historic designation toppers on street signs to say, these are the boundaries, and this is what this community, you have arrived, is another way to say that. So I've mentioned, or I gave reference to some traffic calming studies that are in the works, the stormwater. There are a handful of things that we are going to, and we did not hear from the community that they weren't interested in any of that. It's certainly important, might not be their number one, but they are definitely looking for, and I do say that the overlay or any technique that might help influence the type of development that would occur within the community was definitely something that we heard a lot of. Almost at every meeting, that was very much, how quickly could that happen? What would it entail? That kind of thing. So I dare say if there was to be a number one rank, that might be it. But Eric, what did you want to add to that?
I think overall, I think the highest interest is for an overlay district, because that's the priority, to protect the community from being impacted by encroaching development. But that's what rises from our latest discussions. So we did show the strategies at our last meeting in early September. And we did have great discussions about what the community could do with resilience, like a solar power, component being added to there as a resource. So I think just, being able to actually think, collaboratively about specific projects that they could undertake like that, I think they're interested in those sort of out-of-the-box solutions.
Thanks. And then I just have one more question, which just went out of my head. Okay, yes. So, and it's probably for David. Help me remind me with other small area plans, and this one's different, but has the town ever, to kind of keep the momentum, done any kind of like committee formation or advisory boards that the town helps to, not mediate, but, to run, to keep the progress going forward?
For those particular area plans? So to specifically answer your question, no. What you are dealing with in a lot of the ones that we've done historically are developments that came along either in the 80s under Mecklenburg County's guidance or in the last 25 years under the town's ordinances. So they have HOAs, they have representation, and so whatever their body speaks, they are able to represent that and come to the town as a collection. Because the Pottstown community has a lot of age to it, and was here before the Mecklenburg County was doing most of their zoning, is definitely before the town was doing it, they did not have that foundation. So that is the unique aspect that you just referenced. But the other part of it is, generally speaking, when you're looking at the other area plans, you're sort of laying out what type of opportunities do we want to allow for development in the future? And it's over hundreds and hundreds of acres. But in this particular neighborhood, or community, excuse me, because it is small, and because honestly, the land that is in the community that is not owned by Mecklenburg County is limited. And so it isn't like developer X is gonna come in and, develop 3, 4, 5 different things like they might along Beatties Ford Road or along Eastfield Road. So that development momentum that we have experienced over the last 30 years, it is hitting those places in a way that they're coming in saying, what can I do here? And in this particular instance, I think the community is saying, we would like to sort of set the stage and say, these are the things that we are comfortable having. And so it's almost a reverse of the momentum, if you will. So I hope I tried to explain that a little bit better, but really it's the unique factor of the fact that they have got smaller groups representing the community and not sort of that HOA approach.
That does help, thank you. And Mayor Clark, I may have more questions or follow-ups are there public comments for this? Okay, so I might have some more later, but thanks.
I have one more question, and then we'll get to the public comments, I'm assuming. In regards to the overlay, and this may be for Mr. Richards, entering you into the chat this evening. So I recently discovered that there was, conversation or maybe creation of a plan to deem some type of historic overlay in Pottstown back in the early 2000s. Can you kind of elaborate on that? Was there a plan created? Was there any action taken on that? If you can kind of elaborate on that for me.
There were no formal actions taken by the town. There was discussion of the possibility, but those discussions never furthered. Sure.
And was that just kind of like a board decision or town staff, or was it just general conversation?
It's a long time ago, and I was
Okay.
freshly here.
Right.
Don't recall any specifics on that, but it was probably just community
General.
chatter.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for staff or neighboring concepts? Okay, so we do have some public comments. And we will start with Shannon Mayfield, and I see that Austin Mayfield, are you still here? Okay, so you will have 6 minutes.
Hi, I'm Shannon Mayfield. Thank y'all for letting me speak. Go ahead and let you know I'm 100% German, I'm raw and real. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, I'm gonna tell you what I see. I live in Pottstown, or I'm sorry, what these men deemed outside of Pottstown, because I live on New Haven Drive, right at the stop sign of Holbrook. So, I've been hearing a lot of talk about gentrification. Gentrification, or now I heard a new word, urban. Let's call a spade a spade. Are we ready? People in charge like to use the word gentrification. They, and perhaps even some of you, spin it as renewal, economic growth, and improvement of services, and other positive words. Maybe you don't know, or maybe you really don't care the true meaning of gentrification, but I'm here to let you know what it is. The term gentrification was first used in the 1960s by Ruth Glass. She was a German-British socialist. The term was deemed to move the lower class out of London properties so middle and upper class could take them over. So, more simply, the process of historical disinvested sites, neighborhoods being transformed by the wealthy newcomers driving up property values, forcing out long-term, low-income residents. Tell me why there are 3 $275,000 houses on a spot that they declare Pottstown. That's not historical now, is it? In layman's terms, gentrification starts looking like another word that a lot of people don't want to call out, but I will. It's segregation. I'm calling a spade a spade. You are forcing the Black community out. You are forcing the lower income out. You are releasing what was once a historical site for money. Money. Let me ask you, why are you not trying to revitalize the trailer park down the road? Why is it only the Black neighborhood? Anyone answer that question? It seems like Pottstown has become a business opportunity, not a historical site. The Civil Rights Act of 1968 was formed to protect the Black community, neighborhoods, and people of there losing their land for this situation. Pottstown actually does fall under the Civil Rights Act. It was given to the Black people for the Black people way before Huntersville was a community, way before Mecklenburg County even started. And yes, I know my research because I have called the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. I do my research, friends. In 1955, few people, very few people stood up and made a movement that changed where Black people stand today. They didn't have the internet. Well, I'm not going to sit back and allow history to repeat itself. But guess what, folks? We have the internet now. John 10:10 says, the devil will come and steal, kill, and destroy. You know what's happening to Pottstown? The devil's working really hard. You know why? Because they are destroying the families. They are legally stealing land by finding loopholes, by upping tax prices so the good, hardworking people that live there can no longer pay their property taxes and it gets foreclosed on. And you are killing history, killing it. With that being said, I'm going to say something that a lot of people might not like what I say, but I am going to say it. Please let me know when you guys turned your hoods into suits and started using trickery and spin of the words to the elders instead of marching down. We are not doing it anymore. Pottstown needs to stand.
Brandon Nelson, you're next. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Brandon Nelson. Have to go after that, but need to take a second. When I got here, I was informed, I just had a question, and I was informed that we're not allowed to ask questions. So I'll word this as I would invite you all to, well, first, the preservation of Pottstown, I hope, includes the beautification of Pottstown. And I invite everyone to drive down Central and take a left on David or right, depending on which way you're coming, and ask yourself, why are there industrial highway guardrails on a dead-end residential road? I don't see that in any other community neighborhood in Huntersville. I live back here off of behind Huntersville Elementary, and there's sidewalks and no industrial guardrails. So I just ask that maybe the preservation and beautification of the community includes the removal of industrial highway guardrails in a residential area on a dead-end road. But just take a trip, drive through it, check it out, and ask yourself if those should be there or are they out of place, and maybe we should work with the DOT or something to have those removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Janelle Harris. She's still here? Oh, yeah. You have 3 minutes, Ms. Harris.
Janelle Harris, Pottstown, Huntersville, USA. First, good evening, staff and Mayor Clark. Thank y'all so much for the forum that you all were at yesterday. It meant so much to Pottstown. The Pottstown Community Preservation Plan is very much appreciated, and glad that you took this endeavor upon yourselves. For the past 7 years, I've been a part of several organizations, all of whom have asked for guidance and a plan to save our community. Some organizations feel there's a secret source of funds and we need to go on a quest for them. And some organizations feel they have autonomy and they move like a lone source quickly, while others talk and think and research themselves in circles and achieve great things, but at a slow pace. Mecklenburg County noticed this in 2022 and facilitated what is now the Pottstown Leaders Group. As a collective, we've been able to achieve the guidelines and procedures laid out by those officials who are helping us engage for their purposes. PLG did not directly communicate with neighboring concepts as a group, having decided to approach this plan as individuals. I wholeheartedly agree that there is a need for a coalition with a structure separate from PLG. Initially, I was against this process happening before PLG business concluded. However, I'm now relieved that we have a blueprint on how our organizations can, should, and do come together and do great work. It is my belief that if we start implementing the work these professionals have given us and use the resources of other successful coalitions, we can thrive with this plan. Pottstown must be on pace with new development, and our neighboring community, Vermillion, is zoned neighborhood residential with a development overlay. So we probably need to look into doing that ourselves. I and Maba Bulon look forward to continuing the work and collaborating as needed. Now, having been appointed to the Downtown Master Plan Committee, I know plans require continued reminders to officials to keep them engaged in implementation. I do hope this plan will move along quickly and produce tangible results that all current and future board members will help us Pottstown residents see to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Rachel Zwiff, you have 3 minutes.
Now, they said you have to do this a certain way, and I never get it right. So give me a second. Can everybody hear me? Okay, thank you. My name is Rachel Zwiff, and I live on Central Avenue. Well, first of all, let me thank the board, thank Neighboring Concepts. I know that you did not like my angry emails all the time, but it is my passion that drives everything in me. I have one question for you. How can Pottstown survive? How can the residents age in place, families stay throughout generations in this current lightning speed development projects impeding encroachments? Pottstown does not have 1 to 2 years as implemented in the plan. Pottstown is facing near extinction in less than 1 month if the transit bill passes. We will become the blood in the water to shark developers. Families uprooted into place, seniors unable to age in place due to lingering fears of what is to come, and the rich history demolished within mere minutes. A town's oldest community history lost within the winds. The plan is not ready to move forward. The implementation time for an overlay district of 1 to 2 years does not fly. It has to happen immediately. And because of that, I ask for a moratorium be put on Pottstown for the next six to 9 months while we're able to create that overlay district so that we can be preserved. This is the only way to protect Pottstown. So I ask you again, how will you help Pottstown survive?
Ms. Caldwell, you're next. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Betty Jane B.J. Caldwell, and I live at 14521 New Haven Drive, Huntersville, North Carolina. And I'm here about the small area plan. I'm disappointed that the group that was hired had a different job than what I was expecting. When they first came and we had an opportunity to decide between one or the other group, the main thing I wanted to know was how soon, because at my age, I don't believe I have as many years ahead of me as I have behind me. And so I was disappointed in that I thought it would be more quickly something to save the community for now instead of it being such a futuristic thing for the neighbors who have moved in. Everything seems to be for the neighbors, and that's okay, but it doesn't happen for me. And so that's why I am disappointed. And the focus has been on the future and when we thought it would help the present. So what does it do? It shows clearly that progress is not compatible with preservation in the Pottstown and East Huntersville area. We still don't have any infrastructure and sidewalks, and we'll still jump in the ditch. So I don't know what we can do to move this forward so that the people who live in Pottstown today can see some benefits from having lived long and we didn't prosper. We did prosper some, but the community is still looking like it did when I was born in 1946. So we're here at the mercy of each of you who can vote, but for whatever reason, look at where we are and look at where you are. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time that you took to let me come and have my say. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell. David Doctor, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm David Doctor. My wife, Sherry Kempf, and I reside at 13515 Serenity Street. Serenity Street dead ends into the 31-acre county tract that some of you have seen on the map. We live 3 houses off that dead end. We're on the south side, so we overlook the fork of the south prong of Clark Creek. I want to say, first of all, that my wife and I support the Pottstown Preservation Plan. We have one provision on that, and that provision arises out of work that was done at the April 4th Visioning and Co-Creation Community Workshop. And it was in the report documenting that work that's online, there was an image that was included, and it's on the web. And that image shows the extension of a number of streets, one being New Haven, extending over and connecting into Delwood, and also the extension of David Street, connecting into the extension of New Haven. Now, before I comment further, I'm going to note that my degree, although it's a number of years ago, is in planning environmental studies. Early in my career, I was a transportation planner for the region serving Metro Detroit, and subsequently was a director of transportation planning for a 7-county region in Western Kentucky. So I have some experience with transportation planning and highway engineering. The extension of New Haven over to Delwood, in my professional opinion, is ill-advised for 3 reasons. 1, I live in the area, I understand the traffic patterns and flow. I don't believe that a traffic study would warrant such an investment. Secondly, while the distance from New Haven to Delwood is only about 1,000 feet, the elevation where New Haven sits, the fall down to the creek is about 80 to 100 feet. And it's another 80 to 100 feet back up to Delwood. So such a construction would be really very expensive. There'd be a lot of excavation work. There'd probably need to be a structure at the bottom, a bridge or something. And finally, the extension of New Haven through that county 31-acre tract would go through a sensitive environmental area. In the past few months, I've observed deer, fox, coyote, nesting pair of hawks, owls, all kinds of other animals, some interesting snakes. But that's their community. And while we're thinking about preserving the Pottstown community, we also need to think about preserving their community, as the development we've encouraged hasn't left much for them. So no road through the county, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Paul Miller, you have 3 minutes.
I'm Paul Miller. I live on Serenity Street too, across the street from David. And the concern is, in this map, there is this road that Serenity dead ends into the woods there, and this road would come along that dead end. And I've heard that that's not part of the plan. And my question is that part of the plan? There's nothing to do with the county?
The opposite. So, yeah, we said we drew a lot, as planners like to do, but that was a workshop discussion to propose ideas, to see if they had any merit, and that was one of the ones that the community, of course, did not agree on. So it's not in the plan, but also, I would just point out that we are recommending that the town consider protecting the tree canopy. That's a large reserve of contiguous tree canopy in that area. And so that is actually one of the tools in the plan, to look at green development policies and standards. And one of those could be perhaps thinking about wildlife corridors, actually protecting them. So that area in the 31 acres is actually an area of, ecological services that's worth protecting. And I'll just say that the county's intention is to protect that resource for the community. And I think we need that, for clean water, but also large reserve of trees is actually providing a vital function for all the downtown area. The only other area of contiguous tree canopy that's close to downtown is just right here, where the greenway is going through. So you have those large reserves of green lungs for the community. So I would just say that we did look at ideas, but those were just discussions. They were table discussions. And the drawing that we did was actually to generate, to understand how the community actually valued its resources. Not to say that there isn't any merit in connecting streets, there is in some occasions, but like for the factors that you just brought up, the topographical changes and all that, those are obviously would be evaluated. If we were to consider those street connections, those would obviously need to be evaluated. I wouldn't take a table discussion very seriously. It's just to say, this is what we considered, but we also did not advance that, so.
Thank you.
That was a question, and the question was answered. And I was told you can't ask questions, so now I'd like my question answered. Why is there industrial guardrails at a dead-end residential neighborhood road, and will those be removed?
Brian, can you speak to why there at stub roads there are industrial guardrails?
Sure. It's just assumption that given the age of that project and the topography of that area, they're there for protection for folks not being able to go off.
We'll drop down Sherwood right here where I live, and it's way more steep. There's sidewalks with a nice handrail. And on the other side, it's even more steep, and it's just nice landscape.
Sure, we can definitely get
That's not a good enough reason.
we can definitely get together with the Public Works and Engineering Department, go out and evaluate these situations. Just for everybody's knowledge, at any dead end today, there is always guardrails placed at the end with notifications that they're.
Sir, on the side.
I understand in your situation. I can't speak to when that was done. It was probably installed before I was born, but we can go out and take a look at the situation. Correct, and that was also, those were also done through NCDOT many, many decades ago.
Thank you, Brian. Sure. And lastly, we have Verona Nguyen. Ms. Nguyen, would you like to speak? Just briefly. Okay, can you come to the podium? Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. No, ma'am, I need you to come to the podium so you can speak to the microphone. Otherwise, we won't have your comments on record. You won't be able to hear what you've said. Thank you.
I believe that's the point he's talking about, is possibly a small landfill of .006 acres on David Street.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. That's helpful. Okay. Do we have any other questions for staff or neighboring concepts? Commissioner Bursman?
Yeah, kind of a follow-up after public comments, and I completely understand if the answer can't be provided tonight, but Emily, this one's for you. I know a couple weeks ago we talked about moratoriums and what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. But we really didn't talk about it in the context of, overlays. And do you know, or would you need some time, like if what Ms. Swift brought up during her public comments, if that's something that we could, that could be considered as eligible for a moratorium?
I'm not sure that I understood what she was asking, honestly. But yes, there are limitations on what we can and cannot implement a moratorium for. It's very fact-specific. And I do want to just point something out, because we've heard a lot tonight about overlay districts and historical designations. I just wanted to make a clarification that a zoning overlay district is different than a historic landmark and/or historic, designation for a particular area. That those are two different things. And when there is a historic designation for an area, not just a particular landmark, there are a lot of, I don't know if limitations is the correct word to use, but once a designation has been made, there are a lot of rules that come with that designation about when property within the historic district can be changed or altered. And so those would just be things to keep in mind and look into further when we are considering the various options for the community.
Okay, and I'll try to summarize what, and Rachel, if I get it wrong, just shout out if that's okay. I think the question, and my question is also so if the town wanted to take 6 to 9 months or however long staff felt it needed to make a determination if an overlay is a good idea, is that a reason that's eligible for a moratorium?
It depends on what type of rules they were looking at implementing within the overlay district. Because as we previously mentioned, we talked about limitations regarding residential uses when we were talking about residential development. You may recall that from the presentation. But, you know, I'm happy to work with planning staff to get a better idea about whether or not something that like that would be feasible. I just can't answer 100% because I don't have enough information at this point in time to know what the overlay would entail.
Okay, thanks.
My question was sort of in that same zone of stuff when we have the down zoning legislation that passed. So would a zoning overlay have the potential to run afoul of that down zoning legislation that passed last year?
You are correct in that right now there is language in 160D about downzoning. In the past, there was more flexibility for the government, meaning the local jurisdiction, to initiate a downzoning. That language has been essentially taken out of the statute. And so until that language is changed, which I've heard that there is a potential that it may be in the future changed based on various conversations with UNC School of Government, et cetera, we are tied to what that statute particularly says. So for example, creating nonconformities would result in a downzoning that is prohibited right now. So it's, again, very fact-specific. I can't speak in blanket, you can tell I'm getting tired, blanket terms. I'd have to look at what specifically the language of any text amendment included as to whether or not it would result in a downzoning.
Thank you. Commissioner Rivers?
So I heard about traffic calming. Do we have like a time frame in regards to the traffic calming as to when it will start on Central Avenue? Is that a Laura, David? Can somebody kind of give some context or an update on that? I think, Laura, you were kind of like the point person on that one. Do we have a time frame, or have we started looking into?
For Central Avenue,
Yes.
on Monday, I think it's Monday, we're going to have a meeting with Rachel and a group of people, I'm not sure exactly who. We're going to discuss a type of traffic calming measure that we've not used before to see if the residents of that street would like to try it out, and we could possibly test it and see how it goes. If the community likes it, then we can make it more permanent. If they don't like it, then we could just revert back to like a speed hump or something.
And time frame, you're looking at, you said, I'm sorry. Maybe I missed
The
it.
meeting is on Monday, so we'll discuss it with them, probably give them a week or two to think about it. Then we can, I have to finish the calming policy, which means I have to put up the radar feedbacks that show you how fast you're going. And then after that's done, it would come to a board meeting.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, I believe that concludes item 9A. We are on to item 9B, conduct a public hearing to abandon a portion of Thread Lane, formerly North Main Street. Ms. Master Francesco, don't go anywhere.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to conduct the public hearing for an abandonment, which we haven't done in a while, so we'll go over how this goes. The town this is for the road called Thread Lane, which is formerly known as North Main Street. So the town has a policy for abandonment, and we follow the general statutes for procedures for permanently closing streets or alleys. So first, the petitioner, which for this case is actually the town, submits a petition with a sealed survey showing the area they're requesting to abandon. Then the town reviews the document. We prepare a staff report, which I'd like to also enter in for the record. And we prepare a call for the hearing with a resolution of your intent to close. Once that has been approved, we'll put out signs at the location, which is our notice of closing and public hearing. with the date, and it's also published in the newspaper for 4 consecutive Sundays or consecutive weeks. So this is the policy that we had followed. And so let me show you exactly where Thread Lane is. On the left, you see it's off of 115, and then I've highlighted Brahma Church and 4th Street. So on the right, I've zoomed in, and you see just a small portion of the road. This has occurred because of the realignment of Main Street from our Main Street project. So Main Street now comes into the roundabout, and so we renamed the section Thread Lane, and it is closed already, but now we're coming to a point where we'll abandon that portion. So next is probably my favorite slide, because I love maps. In 2018, when I was hired, this is what it looked like. So you still see 115, I'm still showing Rama and 4th Street, and it's the only way you could use Main Street to get up onto 115. You can make a right or a left. Today, 2025, after the Main Street project was completed, you see the realignment of North Main on the bottom going into the roundabout. And then the dashed line is what we're calling Thread Lane now. So we're abandoning it just on the 115 side. Now, if I zoom in even more, you see I'm pointing to 3 driveways. The abandonment of this and the closure of this street does not impact any of those 3 driveways. They used to have direct access to 115, but now they just have to come down to 4th Street. So it's not that we eliminated their egress and egress. Let's see. So for an abandonment, typically the area of the road is cut in half. Half of it goes to the abutting parcel above and below. Since the town owns both parcels, we decided to recombine that section of abandonment with the parcel to the north. And that's what you're seeing on the right-hand side of the screen. The green portion will be abandoned, and we'll recombine it with the top portion. And then this is what a petitioner would send into the town as we start an abandonment process. It would show you the area of how much is to be abandoned, what you would combine and give to the abutting parcels. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them.
So it looks like that total property is maybe 0.2 of an acre. I'm seeing 0.108, and I can't see the other.
Yeah, so it combines to 1.56 acres.
1.5, okay.
Any other questions? All right, no questions. Thank you, Laura. All right, we're on to other business. Item 10A, consider decision and adopt resolution to abandon a portion of Thread Lane.
Yeah, so exactly what we were just talking about. So in order for it to be official, I need a resolution, actually an order to close that we would record with the county.
So do we have a motion for item 10A?
I make a motion to adopt the resolution to abandon a portion of the Thread Lane, formerly North Main Street.
And is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Item 10B, consider a decision on traffic calming for Maple Branch Drive.
Yes, so first I want to thank Stephen Trott for taking over for me last meeting to conduct the public hearing. So I'm just going to recap what we went through for the traffic calming on Maple Branch. Maple Branch Drive is inside of a community called Northbrook. It is between Sanford and McCord Road. So you see the pink highlighted, it's approximately 700 feet long, the area that we studied for this, not abandonment, for this traffic study. If we zoom in, the proposed location of the speed hump will be around 250 feet from the current traffic circle. And on the left-hand side, there's a proposed development that's coming in. So I'm showing you where the approximate location of that driveway will be. And so I didn't want to put the speed hump too close to that driveway. So it's really strategically placed Normally, we keep them no further than 500 feet away. So this one's a little closer, but it's still within a good range. This is a view looking northward, looking towards 73. You'll see in the near side the traffic circle. And then if you see my blue arrow and line, so you see that the street meanders a bit, and then you would go over that speed hump. And so this is what we were proposing, and I'm asking the board to adopt the resolution to put the one speed hump at this location.
Any questions before we have a motion?
If we were able to look at more traffic calming devices, could you kind of give us some context as to where we could place those after the, what's that, the express little round?
After the mini circle?
Yes, the mini circle, I'm sorry.
Okay. So the traffic calming on this, in this community, we actually studied 5 locations. And I only have 4 radars at a time, so we did it in 2 sections. What happened was only number 1, the one that we're talking about today, warranted to continue. All the rest were underneath the threshold, which is 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. So only station 1 was over 31 miles an hour. The rest were within our threshold limits. So we did not continue with those. I did listen to the public hearing, and Mr. Ed was talking about the route that comes through, the cut through, as he calls it. This is the direction, if you see my pink line, and he was asking for more speed humps around this route. Now, station number 2, when we studied it, it did not warrant at that time. It's also a little difficult in this area. I mean, it's doable, but we have on-street parking, and then you have a lot of intersections. I had heard during the public hearing and his statements that they would prefer it all in this area to slow down the vehicles. But I was following the policy, and the policy said it wasn't warranted at that time. We can always restudy this within 12 months.
Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion for item 10B?
I would like to make a motion that we approve a traffic calming device for Maple Branch Drive.
Is there a second?
I happily second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Ed, just so you know, we're going to put a sign up there that said, "Ed, speed bump ahead," in your honor, just so you know.
All right, item 10C, consider approving labor contract for electrical contract work for fiscal year 2026.
Yes, good evening. Item 10C, the annual labor contract for the electric underground construction work. The town of Huntersville has traditionally bid this out on an annual basis, and this year is no different, so we do this every year. The successful bidder for this fiscal year's underground electric construction work is Huss Boring. It's a company out of Shelby, North Carolina. The duration of this contract is, of course, fiscal year 2026. The price of the contract, this is a unit price contract, not to exceed $2,372,945. We met with the contractor a week ago. They have 3 crews they can start immediately, and they have 3 additional crews that they can ramp up shortly thereafter. And there's no shortage of underground work in the town of Huntersville. So the recommendation is for the town board to approve the contract with Huss Boring for the electrical underground construction work for fiscal year 2026. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? You actually answered my question, which was what would the transition time be, but you would be, I assume, a period of time to transition from one provider to another?
Yeah, so as soon as, we already met last week, and they are ready. As soon as I get the go-ahead here, they will be on site probably as early as Monday.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have a motion for item, lost what motion we're on, 10C?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract for electric construction for fiscal year 2026 to Huss Boring LLC in the amount of $2,372,945 and authorize the town manager to execute contract documents.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir. Item 10D, consider approving revisions to current right-of-way abandonment policy. Ms. Loop.
Yes, good evening. In your agenda packets, you have some edits to our existing right-of-way abandonment policy. The purpose for these edits is to closer align our current policy with statutory requirements and also to make sure that we are following the statutory requirements for the recordation of plats as well. I'm happy to answer any questions if you all have any.
Any questions? So this is a statutory change driven.
It's to make sure that our policy aligns with the right-of-way abandonment statute and also the plat statute about what is required for recording plats.
Okay, so there wouldn't be any opportunity for any changes to this because it's statutorily required?
So again, it's just to make sure, and we were already following the process as far as posting a notice, publishing everything in the newspaper, but that is why we are making sure, double sure, that our policy follows to a T the statute.
Thank you. Is there a motion for item 10D?
I make a motion to approve the revisions to the current right-of-way abandonment policy.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Item 10E, consider approving a budget amendment appropriating fund balance in the amount of $995,000 for the purchase of real property. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am. As you probably all aware and know, and previous boards too, we've been looking for land for a Station 2 replacement. That station dates back to, I think it's 1960s. And it's surrounded by power lines, and it's just can't do any expansions there. So I'd encourage you to go visit that station if you're wondering why we're purchasing new land. But what you see in front of you is a piece of land that we have before you to do a budget amendment on and to move forward purchase. If the board sees fit to move forward tonight, we will look to close. The seller's attorneys will get us the information so we can close on that, hopefully sooner rather than later. The asking price was $1,050,000. Had an original appraisal was $987,000. The budget amendment for you is $900,095, and we've been looking for land for approximately somewhere between 4 and 5 years. Saw it as a goal in FY22, and I think it was talked about in the FY21 budget, but an actual goal in FY22. So it's been quite some time, and hopefully we'll move forward. Happy to answer any other questions.
Is there any relevance to this location of why we would choose to place a fire station in this particular location?
Yeah, typically, and I'm sure the chief would do a much better job, but one, access out on 73, but also, you look at distance requirements and what you serve. If the further we get towards, I'd say the dam, it's sort of like Station 3, it's on the outskirts. You want to bring those facilities further in and have an equal distribution. And this is the location we landed on. And as you can tell, there's not a lot of properties left out here in the right location, but 73 works well. We've worked with DOT to coordinate what I'm going to call a concrete median cut so that fire apparatus can cut across at any time and not have to go up and do U-turns. Obviously, that's not good. Takes more time. So we've worked through those issues. We sort of test fit a station here to make sure everything fits and everything seems to work. Obviously, we work with DOT on right-of-way acquisition. They are purchasing right-of-way. They'll be working with the town on that if we move forward. And we've worked through those type issues already and I think we've done enough due diligence to move forward.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just, do you know offhand where the U-turns are in relation to this property of the future widening of that section?
There's a U-turn, and don't hold me to exact, but there's a U-turn somewhere about right here, maybe a little further to the left, a little bit to the right. And Kevin's probably, that look right, Kevin, on that one, you recall? On this one here, I thought there was one somewhere in here. There's definitely one there, somewhere in that vicinity, a few feet off. And then there's one, oh gosh, I don't know if it's somewhere around here. It may be a little bit further north on that. Or, I'm sorry, that would be, I guess, east. But definitely not in this, not right in this vicinity here. That's why it would allow us to have that cut across.
Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion for item 10E?
Yes. I make a motion that we approve a budget amendment appropriating fund balance in the amount of $900,095 for the purchase of real property at 15318 North Carolina Highway 73.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to just briefly give a shout out to Mr. Roberts here and staff. Really, we've been looking for a very long time for property for Station 2. We had to abandon one effort in this, and he stayed after it. Just, it seems like month after month, and it helps us as a board meet our commitment to public safety and give us a chance to build a new Station 2. But I want to say thank you for all your hard work.
I'd like to piggyback on what Commissioner Walsh just said. This land purchase for Fire Station number 2 is phenomenal. So I want to say to you and the staff, job well done. This board has proven that we take public safety very serious, and we've delivered on the outcome of public safety. So again, Anthony and your staff, job well done.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I kind of just want to remind folks that this is, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll eventually be replacing the fire station that is still on septic. That is definitely in need, and you know, it's taken a long time to get there. A lot of that has been out of the town's control. I'm just really glad that we are at a point today where we can finally move forward on a new Station 2.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Item 10F, consider adding the position of a deputy town clerk.
Thank you, Mayor and board members. On the advice of council, the Administrative Department requests board action regarding the mid-year reclassification of the existing executive assistant position within the Administrative Department to a deputy town clerk position. On January 4th, 2024, the board approved a resolution to provide for a deputy town clerk. This request established the position within the town's classification plan. The deputy clerk falls within the same pay range as the executive assistant position. The salary for this position exists within the current departmental budget. Happy to respond to any questions you have.
Yeah, I just got one for you, Jackie. I know one of the responsibilities of the town clerk is to respond to FOIA requests. And those come up and they go down, and sometimes we don't have very many, and sometimes a bunch come at once. Will this help the town better be able to kind of efficiently process requests? Or is it still mainly the town clerk's role to do that? Or how will I guess what I'm trying to ask is will that responsibility be shared, especially during times where there's a lot of requests at once?
I would say that it will be a work in progress exactly which duties each of the two people do, but I would also argue that any assistance that we could take directly off the clerk's plate would be a help in getting those duties done.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion for item 10F?
I make a motion to add the position of deputy town clerk to the town's classification plan by reclassifying the existing executive assistant position in the administrative department to a deputy clerk position.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Item 10G, consider the resignation of Commissioner Amanda Dumas. So we heard earlier that she had tenured her resignation to us, and so in order to make that formal, we must vote on that at this time. Just for informational purposes, her position will not be filled due to the proximity to the elections coming up. And so we'll just maintain this status quo until that time. And so do we have a motion for item 10G?
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Commissioner Dumas.
Is there a second?
Second.
I just want to wish Commissioner Dumas well on her new journey. We miss her a lot, and we value her contributions that she made to us. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. All right, item number 11, closing comments. Commissioner Rivers, Commissioner Walsh, Commissioner Hunt, Commissioner Quarles.
I just send my condolences to the fallen officer and his family, as well as to the HPD. That's it.
Sir, Commissioner Bergsman.
Just two things. Well, Commissioner Dumas, if you happen to be listening, you know, we've talked, but I just want to thank you for your service. We're going to miss you. And on Friday, I think many folks heard that there were a few fatalities due to car accidents over the recent days, and the one that occurred in front of the hospital was actually one that my spouse was in the near vicinity, well, not near vicinity, but he was in the area around the time that it happened. And I just wanted to say to the family of Elizabeth, the victim, and that our thoughts are with you. That's all.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
And is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned.